Thank you, Carolyn. Just don't believe a word she said. Okay. So I'm going to read from the Cat's Table, and as you said, there are three boys on this ship, or at least become close friends. One is named Cassius, who's quite bad. One named Ramadan, who's quite good. And the narrator, whose nickname is Mina. Cassius had another name when I began the book, but a third of the way through, I changed his name to Cassius, and he became much worse. So the book is, they're on the ship for 21 days, and the voice of a boy. The book begins with the voice of a young boy, and later on it becomes an adult voice at times. Sleep is a prison for a boy who has friends to meet. We were impatient with the night. Up before sunrise surrounded the ship. We could not wait to continue exploring this universe. Lying in my bunk at 5 a.m., I would hear Ramadan's gentle knock on the door. Then I would hear him whisper, Mina, which became my nickname. We would meet Cassius by the stairs and soon would be strolling barefoot on the first-class deck. First class was an unguarded palace at 6 in the morning. And we arrived there even before a fuse of light appeared on the horizon, even before the essential night lights on the deck blinked and went out automatically at daybreak. We removed our shirts and dove like needles into the gold-painted first-class pool with barely a splash. Silence was essential as we swam in the newly formed half-light. If we could last undetected for an hour, we had a chance to plunder the laid-out breakfast on the sun deck, heap food onto plates, and abscond with a silver bowl of condensed milk, its spoon standing up in the center of its thickness. Then we'd climb into the tent-like atmosphere of one of the lifeboats and consume our ill-gotten meal. One morning, Cassius brought out a gold-leaf cigarette he had found in the lounge and taught us how to smoke properly. We left the crockery and knives and spoons that came with our stolen meals in the lifeboat and slipped back down to tourist class. A steward would eventually discover traces of our numerous breakfasts, so that for a while the captain searched for a stowaway on board. It was not even 8 o'clock when we crossed the border from first class back to tourist class. We pretended to stagger with the roll of the ship. I had by now come to love the slow waltz of our vessel from side to side, and the fact that I was on my own without family supervision was itself an adventure. I could go anywhere, do anything. And Ramadan, Cassius, and I had already established one rule. Each day we had to do at least one thing that was forbidden. The day had barely begun. We still had hours ahead of ourselves to perform this task.
I'd like to begin with childhood. You took this journey as a child, a journey on a ship. Was yours the Oranze?
Yep.
And you told your own children about it one day. This is what
That's
I've
right.
heard. And they were horrified. Rather than enchanted that this was a wonderful adventure, they were horrified that you...
Yeah, well, I had no family. I mean, I didn't have any parents on the ship with me, so I was trudging through troubled waters, like an innocent. Not that I was, but I think they were quite shocked that children were sent off for 21 days on a ship to another country, and and today, of course, kids are hesitant about parents are hesitant about sending their children on a bus downtown. So, and the minute they said they were appalled, I was slightly appalled as well. And so it became a kind of book where I had to pretend. Well, the thing was, I did not remember this journey at all. This was the strange thing. So I had to totally invent it. But it became interesting that the whole thing about fear, what you do with fear, which should be there, and so it doesn't get talked about at all by the boys anyway. So
Right.
I became even more fearful as a result, I think.
So you invented a voyage to replace the memory you didn't have of your voyage.
And now it's absolutely truthful as far as I'm concerned,
Right.
the whole thing.
Exactly. Our mutual friend Fanny Howe was intrigued by a conversation she had with you about childhood and about the differences between the way that you may have experienced childhood in Colombo, the way that we experienced it when we were young here, but now the way it is for
Yeah,
children, very
yeah.
different.
Mhm.
And we also talked about children who don't have parents or are abandoned or are left on their own. And you were talking with her about the differences between how they might be cared for in Ceylon and here.
Well, I think I was talking to about a group called SOS, which is an organization that actually is all over the world. That there are SOS villages even in America, but each country organizes it differently. And in Sri Lanka, these villages, which are essentially orphanages, a friend of mine built and designed them, and they all look like circuses as far as, they're brightly colored and they're beautiful. And they're very smartly organized. Each house has a parent, a mother, and they range from about 2 till 16. And with every 10 houses, there's another house which has an aunt.